Hi, I'm Dana, and today I want to talk about what should happen after an adult autism diagnosis, because it's another thing that I've seen talked about a good amount online. I want to put my little 2 cents in, because my experience was very much going in at 21, being told like, oh yeah, you're definitely autistic. Off you pop. Go. That's it. You know, I was very like, what am I meant to do now? What am I supposed to think? How am I supposed to feel? What do I do? You know, like I really felt like my life had been completely turned upside down. So I'd like to take a minute just sit right there. No, but you know, I really felt like I didn't know who I was anymore. I felt like I had been like living a lie. I was looking back and be like, oh, so that was because of that, and that was because of that, and that was because of that. And it was a lot. Like, finding out you're autistic as an adult is a lot. It's a lot to deal with, it's a lot to process. And my experience, as I say, was very much just being told, yep, you're autistic, and off you go. That's the end of it. You know you're autistic now. Fuck off. And, you know, like, I've done all right out of it, because it was what inspired me to start making videos and everything. It was just feeling like I was entirely on my own. But for autistic people, it didn't immediately think like, hey, I should find a niche on YouTube for this. You know, for the rest of you, it really fucking sucks, doesn't it? So I wanted to take a video to just talk about what I think should happen after diagnosis, to get other people's ideas on what they think should happen. And just like discuss it a little, because we talk a lot about how it's not good enough, but I don't feel like I've really seen people say what should be happening. So I'm no doctor, I'm no psychologist, I'm no anything. I'm just an autistic person that thinks these are things that could have helped me and could help other people. Would they be implemented? There's no way they're going to be. This is just a YouTube video. But you know, we talking hypothetical, you know? We're taking it how we can when talking about what would actually be good after diagnosis. So personally, I think that if you've been diagnosed as autistic at any point in your life, there should be an autism team that helps you out. There should be a team, just like there's like mental health teams and like teams for like if you've got a broken leg or if you've got cancer, there should be a team for autistic people. And I feel like it's probably the kind of thing where there is for kids, possibly. I don't know. I don't think parents get enough support either. But I think that there needs to be a team. And the first thing that I think this team should offer after you've been diagnosed is counselling, both with like the autistic individual and with the autistic individual and their family. Because, you know, we're being told something like, no matter how much you've prepared for it and thought like, oh, I'm pretty sure I'm autistic, to be told it and be diagnosed is a whole nother fucking area. And I could have definitely used with a bit of therapy, a bit of counselling, something like that, to be able to talk through how I was feeling with someone professional, to be able to ask for advice, to be able to just talk about it and get feelings out and figure out what was going on in my head. And it was less of a thing for me because my older brother's autistic, so my family were already really aware of it and we're just like, oh, this makes sense. But for those of you whose families perhaps aren't as aware or aren't as educated, you know, I think that there should be a family like counselling scenario where the family is sort of told a little bit of what it is to be autistic, what it means for them as a family, what it means for the individual, a chance for everyone to get out their feelings and emotions about it. Because so many of us have like built up resentment and shit against our parents for not noticing and the like. And I know you're not going to get that out in a few NHS funded counselling sessions, but I think that, you know, they could be the start at least. And I think that that should be available to anyone that's getting any sort of big diagnosis, honestly. You know, like when my mum got her cancer diagnosis, people were real quick to start offering her stuff and none of it materialised, funnily enough. But, you know, it was offered at least, and that is not what happens with being autistic. And, you know, I get that cancer is a much bigger deal and, like, you can die and it's a whole different, like, fucking barrel of fish. But, you know, like, in the same way that there's a team for that and you get counselling and people, like, support you through it, it should be the same for, like, it should be the same for a late autism diagnosis. And I also, one of the very few parts of like support that were offered to me after diagnosis was that there's like local clubs for autistic people. And it's one of those where I joined on Facebook initially to sort of scout them out. And I was very quickly faced with the fact that there's a lot of 40-year-old autistic women, like 40, 50-year-old autistic women. And then I realised that they were all posting about their children. They're predominantly like late teens to fully adult children. Because it was a group for autistic adults, but it's autistic adults that have had their parents sign them up, and it's their parents talking for them, especially on the online groups. You don't see shit from autistic people, it's just their parents. And for this reason, I think this would be great in general, not specifically after like being diagnosed, but especially after being diagnosed, I think it'd be great if there were support groups for late diagnosed autistic adults, like specifically late diagnosed people, because, you know, I don't ever want to like segment or segregate or like, you know, I don't like doing that to the autistic community. And I think that we should all be able to get on reasonably well. There's going to be disagreements, we're all different people, but I think for the most part there's no point separating us, you know? But when it comes to the type of support that is required as an adult, I think it really varies for the people who are late diagnosed and those who have like always known or always been aware. And whether that's because they have higher support needs or just because they're a white boy that were into trains or whatever, you know, whatever the reason is for them being diagnosed earlier, I don't care. I just think that it gives you a completely different ball set of issues to be diagnosed late. And, you know, the later you're diagnosed, the more issues you're probably going to have. And you've got to work through that. And I just don't feel that can be done with people that have like always known that they're autistic or people that have known since like young childhood. It just, a lot of different feelings. I also think that every autistic person should be offered a social worker or advocate of some sort. I think that most autistic people are entitled to have like a social worker to help you with stuff. No idea how you're meant to get one. I've been on so many different websites and the like, because I could really do with someone that can help me like fill out paperwork and the like, because I haven't got a clue what I'm doing and it all confuses me and overwhelms me and it's a whole situation for me and I could really do with some help. You know, it's the kind of things that other people would ask their parents for help with and mine aren't around, so I'm just like, gotta figure it out. And I think that a lot of autistic people are probably in a very similar situation. And I think a lot of us, like, you know, if you're 30, you don't want to be asking your mum and dad to help you with everything. And you shouldn't need to. You should be able to have someone to help you out with stuff, and especially to like help you out with stuff immediately after diagnosis. And that's why I think offering, like, not everyone will want one, I get that, but I do think that you should be offered someone who can help a little bit, you know, whether it's a social worker, whether it's an advocate of some sort. I'm not talking like carer, like that's not what I mean, although obviously if you've got high support needs and need a carer, you should be provided one then too. But like, just specifically for people that are like late diagnosis, you've just found out you're autistic, I think you should be given someone that can help you out a bit and be like, okay, so what do you want to do now? Here are the groups that you can go to, how you can do this. You know, personally, I've been like pretty much unemployed 24/7 forever because my longest jobs lasted about 4 days. It'd be really nice if I had someone to be like, oh, well, here's how you do a CV. Here's how you should act in an interview. Here are the kind of things they're going to ask. Here's how to do a job. Here's support while you get started in the job. Things like that I could really fucking use. But it's not really there that I've found. And I think it should be offered to everyone that finds out they're autistic as an adult. I just, you know, I'm aware that the things I'm saying are going to cost money and that's probably why they're not there already. But I think it's what people deserve. And, you know, I'm no accountant, I'm no lawyer, I'm no economist. I don't even know the word for the thing that I would need to be, clearly. I don't know how you would fund this stuff, especially with the state of the NHS. But it's just what I think should be there. You know, it's not so much what I think can be there, it's what I think should be there. And I say that because my final thing is that I think that you should be offered aids and accommodations, like physical ones that can actually help autistic people. You know, I think if you've just found out you're autistic as an adult, here's some sound cancelling headphones. Here's a sunflower lanyard. Here's some sunglasses that like go around the corners and like... Basically, I can't wear sunglasses because being able to see the two different colours makes me get a headache. So I could do with just like some fuck off ski goggle sunglasses. And I'd like it to be provided to me. No, but you know what I mean? Like there's little things that can really help out autistic people. And it takes us ages to find them. A bunch of us can't afford them. And I think that you should be given like essentially a little like, oh, you're autistic, here's a gift basket of shit that might help. You know? Like, just give them a little gift basket with, like, your sound cancelling headphones, some, like, flare calmer, like, maybe some stim stuff. Definitely a sunflower lanyard. I really find mine very useful. You know, maybe some sort of, what are they called? Are they ACCs? AACs? the ones that help people speak if you go non-verbal or like selectively mute or whatever. Things like that, where it's just, it'd be a validating, an affirmation of like, you've always had these issues, but we've only just managed to diagnose them, so here's the shit you need. I get that it'd cost money. I get that it, like, not everyone would need the things in there. I get it. I just think that it should be there for those who like do want it and who could use it, because it's so hard to figure out what your sensory needs are, like, just in general, especially immediately after diagnosis. You know, like, walking out of being diagnosed personally, I was so overwhelmed and anxious and like just reeling from the whole experience that everything was too bright and too loud. I could have really done with walking out of that place with a new pair of sunglasses and something to like just help my ears. Like, even like, it doesn't have to be like 200 quid sound cancelling the headphones, you know, it can be like the ones that people use when they're doing the jackhammering on building sites. I don't care. Just something so that I didn't want to die in the car ride home. Those are my only serious and well thought out points. But I have another one, which is that I think it would be really good for late diagnosed autistic adults to spend time around autistic children. And I'm not including this as a real point, because it's one of those where like everything else, I'm like, I get that there's like this minor flaw and this minor flaw, but it's easily ironed out. And with shoving some adults in with children, there's just a million and one things that can go wrong. There's so many like safeguarding issues and just like risk of physical injury. There's so many issues with it. Like, as soon as I started thinking about it, I was like, that's a terrible idea. But I want to mention it because I thought about it initially, because I was very like, most of us have had to pretend to be normal for like the last 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, you know, however long we've been alive, we've been trying to pretend to be normal and fit into society and the like. And I sort of vaguely remember as a kid that I did like lots of like spinning and dancing and singing and lots of things that were like definitely just my normal, natural autistic behaviour, but no one else did it, so I quickly realised it wasn't normal after all and stopped doing it. And there's so many things like that where I wonder that, like, if I were to spend time around autistic children, would I A, remember more, or B, sort of like remember my authentic autistic self that's been like locked away and taken away from me? And I think lots of us would and would benefit from it. But as I say, there's a million and one safeguarding issues, and I don't think we should just be shoving adults in with children. And like, personally, as much as I'm like, I think it'd really help me, I'd hate to spend time around actual children because I'm just going to swear or like fuck up in front of them or like accidentally elbow one in the face because I'm not used to people's heads being that low. Like, I don't want to. I don't actually want to, but in some ways I feel like it could be beneficial in the correct setting and environment with the right children and the right people. Like, it's just a little half-assed thought, because I want you to comment your half-assed thoughts and everything else you've thought in the comments below. I really want this to be a discussion. I don't know if these are the best things that would help autistic people after an adult diagnosis. I don't know if you might come in and be like, well, actually that's a terrible idea because of this, but this other thing would be a great idea. I want to hear them all. It's not going to make any difference. I'm not like on a board or anything. Like, I'm not going to do anything with your ideas. I'm just being nosy, and I think it's interesting. So if you wanted to comment, that's what I'd like you to comment about. You can comment about anything. It's free speech, free country. Say what you want. But that's what I'm specifically looking for. And my mouth's really dry and I'm still a bit too hot. So I'm gonna go. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year. And I'll see you again in a few days.